10 seconds remaining.
Game 1, DK came out firing and took control quickly, put themselves just one win away from heading to our grand finals of the Eastern Division Bubble Race playoffs. But Vici had something to say about it in Game 2, taking another convincing win of their own and forcing another Game 3 here on our first day of playoff action here in the East and West Bubble Race at the HyperX D2L. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers. Our final game of the night on the way now as DK and Vici square off for the chance to meet Invictus Gaming in a best-of-5 kicking off tomorrow at 5 p.m., the winner of which will be heading to Las Vegas. So a lot on the line, elimination matches all around here in the Bubble Race. And Vici really looking solid in that second game. I'm joined, as always, by Ben Merlini-Wu, lending the insight and analysis. And, you know, coming into the draft for the second game, we talked extensively about Vici and their strengths as a team, how well they tended to capitalize on early and mid-game precision. They just tended to make very few mistakes. DK, though, a team that knows how to pull it together down the stretch. Vici just able to snowball off of a very, very mid-game-centric lineup draft. And able to get ahead in terms of late-game potential, and Burning and company never really had a chance to play catch-up. Now they're opening up with a Visage and a Dragon Knight, a lot of push potential already showing itself, lending itself very well to that same style. DK, though, going to go ahead and grab Ice Timbersaw for the second game in a row and pair it with a Rubik. Coming into Game 3, my friend, what's going to be key for both of these teams in the draft and beyond?
I think DK needs to draft a little bit better. They also need more out of their offlane and their supports. I think Mushi did all he could. Burning kind of did too. I guess they could have fought more early, but their team didn't really dictate that. The supports could perhaps kept kill Saturn a few times, just let Mushi have a little bit of an easier time, or just got a kill with Timbersaw. So I think at DK, they need to get more out of supports. I think their solo, Mushi and Burning played fine. Ice needs to contribute a little bit more, at least in Game 2. Vici, I think they... they played very solidly in Game 1 and Game 2. They just need to work on not making small mistakes. I guess big mistakes like Sailor getting caught out there. But that was pretty much the only mistake that Sailor made all game. So I don't really have too much to harp on for Vici. Maybe protect Super a little bit better in middle. Or just not overextend with Super. Super is actually a very safe player. I'm surprised he did die with that regen rune from Mushi. But overall, Vici, I think, is looking stronger coming into Game 3.
Luna going to be the carry pickup. That'll be almost certainly handled by Burning. Looking forward to see what Vici decides to go ahead and pair up with the Dragon Knight Visage opening. And we can see DK very much respecting what Vici does well. Getting rid of Gyrocopter, a hero who fits in well to a two-core sort of a lineup, which would have been augmented quite well. The Dragon Knight would have been helped out a lot by that. Clinks, they're going to take that away. They certainly don't want to see Sylar back to being that unholy terror, just running the map and taking control of it entirely. Now with the option available to them, again, the push power 100% evident out of Visage and Dragon Knight. They could go something just all in on push, or they could just decide to go ahead and add some reach at this point. The Clockwork has been banned, so they're not going to have that. But depending on if that's going to be a mid-Dragon Knight or a farming Dragon Knight, and we have seen Super run the mid-Dragon Knight a number of times, a puck pick could fit in well, gives them a nice way to initiate fights on the heroes like Timbersaw, like Luna, and so on and so forth. But they're going to go ahead and grab another very strong support in the Crystal Maiden, so look to see some action and a lot of roaming early on.
Yeah, Vici can also go for like a Weaver Visage Crystal Maiden tri-lane. That can shut down Luna's farm pretty heavily because Luna is very limited on range, and Rubik doesn't really do that much damage early, so they don't really have that much kill potential. Whereas Vici will with CM Visage and Weaver. So I think Vici can definitely contest Luna's farm. In terms of the offlane matchup, Timbersaw pretty much a wash versus most heroes. He's not going to be able to dominate most people, but he's also not going to lose very hard at one-on-one. And they can... DK also, he doesn't lose very hard most of the time, especially Super's DK. Super has a pretty beastly DK.
Very much agreed. And that's really the question again, is that going to be a mid DK, or are they going to go ahead and put Super, say, back on the Storm Spirit? I think Storm Spirit would fit in quite well with this as well.
10 seconds remaining.
We actually saw DK use a very cute combination in a lineup very similar to this, which was Dragon Knight and the Vengeful Spirit in their earlier series today. And it was very effective in how they were able to swap a hero right on top of DK and let him hit with the Dragon Tail. But instead, they're going to go ahead and show us a Bristleback. So This is, again, we've seen Bristleback make his way into the drafts of many teams. We've seen him a few times today already. We saw Navi run him. I want to say we saw, who was it other than Navi that ran him? Was it DK or was it Tongfu? Can't really remember off the top of my head.
I thought Vici ran it in game 1. I think ROTK.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Completely right. All the games beginning to run together at this point. But nonetheless, very similar lineup, and Vici going to be looking to put it to good work here in game number 3. DK banning out the Lone Druid with that last ban.
I don't really like Vici's picks up DK and Bristleback, not versus Timbersaw. Pure damage pretty much negates Bristleback, and they have a lot of pure damage to go through that, as well as DK's armor. They have a lot of pure damage and magic damage. So Dragon Knight good versus heroes that really rely on physical damage, life stealer, clinks, etc. But versus this sort of lineup from DK, I don't particularly like those. And they picked them up like after Timbersaw already came out, so there are many other options.
DK looking to round out their 5, and they do have a lot of a good mix of damage, I would say. As you mentioned, the pure damage is going to be there from Timbersaw. They will have the physical damage out of Luna as she continues to build out, but a nice balance of magic damage as well with Eclipse, Lucent Beam, Lich's Chain Frost, Frost Blast, etc. And Vici, though, again,
10 seconds
with this kind of a lineup, they're going to be able to push very effectively. There's going to be a Night Stalker pickup. We have not seen Night Stalker have all that much success in D2L play. We've seen the occasional Night Stalker have a good game, but for the most part, his win rate here in D2L has not been that great. And we've seen him more out of the East than we have out of the West by far.
Yeah, DK can bring the fight early. It looks like they're going for a little bit of a different play style than game 1 and game 2, and they just want to take Vici by storm in their early game, and that's kind of how they won the game that they did. I guess their early mid game was like okay, decent. Their play, not their lineup. But with these sort of heroes, I think they can. I think they may need Luna to be a little bit more active too. For example, like I forget which series it was, but Vici played. Or whoever it was, Luna just ran around the map early and just heavily punished a double Midas.
Yep.
I think they may need Burning to do that this game instead of Midas and farming up versus a DK and Bristleback, because if he has one small misstep, Nick Assassin stuns him out, or DK stuns him out, or even getting caught by Visit Familiar stuns, he's just going to get blown up, and they don't really have anything that can counter-initiate very well on the side of DK. So I think they just need to have a huge gold lead going into like the 20-25 minute phase of the game.
With ROTK's Nyx Assassin, the last pick, that means it will be super in mid. It will be Sylar farming, flat farming that Bristleback and FY and Fenrir on the Visage. So this is going to be an interesting game. I really like the way these two teams do match up. As you mentioned, though, there are advantages that do go to DK. And a lot of this, again, just comes down to, a lot of it I feel like is going to rotate around how effective super is out of mid. How much pressure is DK going to be able to put on him? Lich can roam. We saw that he actually... very effective Lich play, just bouncing between a couple of lanes to deny creeps respectively out of each lane with each different wave. But he has a little bit of burst damage he'll bring you with Frost Blast, but for the most part, not say as effective as some other roamers can be. If they're able to hold super down, and we've seen that happen before, as good as super as DK is, he is susceptible to everything that hero is susceptible to normally, namely ganks coming out of the mid position, if that is indeed where he's going to head. And that's going to have to be a pretty high priority for DK as they set up shop here in game number 3. Again, this will be our final game of the night, and couldn't ask for a more appropriate ending. DK and Vici. DK looking for twice times revenge, as Vici bested them in the D2L, and as you mentioned, bested them fairly recently. And Vici looking very good, actually finished ahead of DK in the overall group stage standings, and looking to fight their way on up to take on Invictus Gaming tomorrow. Looks like both teams kind of sniffing each other out, but they will go ahead and pull back, so MMY going to show his face just long enough to drop a ward, then back out. That's immediately pinged out by Sylar, though, so they're aware it's there. And dewarded. And as both teams pull back, we'll take a look at our lineup, see who's handling who. ROTK on the Nyx Assassin will be super, as mentioned, playing on our DK. He's making his way towards mid. Fenrir on the Visage with Crystal Maiden, played by FY, and the hard-farming Bristleback will be handled by Sylar. Other side of the river, Mushi going to be playing our Night Stalker. He's hanging out in mid here with Lanham, who's going to be ready to deny that first creep in mid with Sacrifice on the Lich, and there you go. Timbersaw going to be played by Ice 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 once again with Burning, back on one of his more favored heroes over the past month or two in the Luna, and Rubik will be played by MMY.
And Ice is not going to have an easy start on bottom. He does have a pretty nice creep block, but getting that early ward deward is going to be very troublesome for him. We already see a smoke from Vici, FY, and Fenrir rotating mid, CM and Fenrir. Fenrir hasn't skilled up anything yet. CM already skilled up Frostbite.
Super has Dragon Tail. We'll go ahead and spin it. Here's Frostbite to follow it up, and just look at the damage output. Easy first blood with the Grave Chill helping secure things, and that's about as good a start as Super could ask for out of this mid position.
Yep, and that DD really helped him out there.
Oh,
and yeah, it's not that big of a deal. Mushi's still going to get levels pretty fast, especially with Lanham there to babysit him. But Lich does absolutely nothing at level 1 besides help creeps, and they can't actually counter-initiate. So very nice play from Vici over there, even though they had the sacrifice there. Maybe Mushi could have like creep blocked to get it really close to his tower, but still, there's not too much Mushi can do about that situation.
Very early bottle for Super, has 600 gold to go on top of it. Ice just trying to soak experience as best as he can. He's about halfway to level 2 right now. Sylar, though, getting right up in his face, as Bristlebacks are wont to do. And we'll probably see just FY and Fenrir doing their thing in the jungle here. Just going to soak experience while isolating the Bristle versus the Timber and being willing to exchange experience for experience. ROTK's in a awkward position, but making quite good work of it on the Nyx Assassin. He's almost level 3 already in this 2-on-1 offlane.
Yeah, offlane Nyx Assassin is not that bad, especially if they don't have really strong heroes to zone out. Like, Rubik can, but if you get like boots up early on Nyx Assassin, he has a style shield too, so he'll be able to farm it quite easily. Luna actually forced to use a salve because she has to tank quite a bit at tower MMY. Not doing too well in terms of levels. Both of them are sitting around 2.5, whereas ROTK, as you said, almost level 3.
Super manages to bash Mushi in the back of the head and pass him up to get the Invis rune. So pretty big loss for Mushi there. And Super managing to dominate this middle lane fairly effectively. He's sitting at 8 CS, 10 CS for Mushi, but obviously that first death setting him back at least a little bit. Actually, he somehow managed to surpass him in experience as well. Well, I know what somehow means. Lanham, who is dedicated to this middle lane, doing quite a good job of getting Mushi back on his feet.
Yep. And Sacrifice going to work there, and Dragon Knight, he does not have any Dragon's Blood yet, so he's actually taking a lot of res, will be forced to use his invisibility pretty soon, unless he wants to be put in danger.
Taking a look at this bottom lane, Sylar's getting tons of free farm, but in this 3-on-1 situation, they need to zone the Timber out a little bit more effectively. He's already halfway between 3 and 4, and Super now eating some Frost Blast damage. It's very tough for him now that Lanham is level 2 and able to come up and spam along with Mushi having 2 points into Void. And they're just, I mean, ROTK's in decent shape too. He's making his way towards level 4, but you don't want to have a 3-on-1 situation where Ice is doing quite as well as he is. You either want to try to pressure him out of this lane or maybe try to dive him tough enough to do under the best of circumstances, or at the very least maybe rotate and put some pressure on. I'm surprised they haven't tried to move back towards mid lately.
Luna's CS is actually really poor at this point in the game. 11-4, 12-4 compared to the Nyx Assassin's 10-2.
Yep.
So I think maybe MMY's pulling a little bit too much, or Burning is just having trouble CSing on the tower because of that. But he should have more CS at this point in the game.
And we can see ROTK playing quite brave. As 1 point into Carapace, 2 into Impale. And really not too scared of much. Is going to be Ice caught with a Frostbite. Soul Assumption's there just for free damage. Now the Grave Chill after the Timber Chain. He's going to look for another Timber Chain just to get to safety. Will barely make it away. Tango's immediately. No, Frostbite! Not enough ticks on the damage. Came very close, forcing a salve. We're going to see Mushi actually beat Super to this double damage ring. The Super has to reverse course very quickly. That is a nighttime Night Stalker with 2 points into Hunter of the Night and a DD in pocket. So he's going to rotate back down towards bottom lane. Ice being pursued out again, but they might be able to make something happen with Mushi here. Let's find out. Looping around all the way through, and Ice right there with him.
They see him with a ward, though.
DD popped. They're going to go right on Fenrir. There's the Void. DD doing good damage. There's the Frostbite, though. The goo from Sylar slowing down Ice, and Mushi going to be forced to back. Ice has the Timber Chain away, but he's not quite out of the woods. He's taking a lot of damage, forced to use his wand charges. ROTK, wound up the Impale and saved it for when they needed it. They track him down in the woods, and one Void, or one last Quill Spray, enough to secure the kill as a Void thrown out for Mushi, but Mushi's rotation not working out all that well.
Yeah, it's not that bad though. 4-on-1, they only got 1 kill out of it. But DK desperately needs kills right now. They really don't have like the best late game. We just saw like Birding with like tremendous amounts of farm not do too well on the Gyrocopter. Luna kind of in the same boat, especially if they can get the jump. And they have pretty tanky heroes. This is Bristle back in Super, not gonna die too easily to a farmed Luna. So Mushi scrambling for kills right now, 0-1 and 0. It was a nice pickup in the DD. Ice really hurting on levels 2, level 4.5. I guess it's a little bit less than the Nixus, and Nixus in level 5.5 even after leaving that top lane.
Ice caught with Frostbite yet again. There's going to be the goo. Timber Chain will get him to safety. So they're zoning him out much more effectively now. And he is still making decent progress up the chain. We can see level 4.5.
For 6-minute rune. Ooh, I thought we might see a little bit of contest. But yeah, that early Observer Ward being taken down hurt him so badly.
Illusion Rune spawns bottom. And here comes Mushi looping around. They're going to try to dive out the Nyx Assassin. ROTK short of level 6. Won't have Vendetta to get him out of trouble. We'll have Carapace. Let's see if they want to react. And nope, going to be immediately telekinesed. Carapace is up, but Mushi doing some body blocking. Impale off the mark, so they should get this kill. He's going to salve up and run into the woods, though. Actually gave him the old okey doke, and here comes a TPN. ROTK doesn't have enough mana to stun again, but with FY there, ROTK manages to make it away and Burning, caught with his hand in the cookie jar, ends up dead behind the tier 1 after that failed dive. So just like that, Vici has blown the early game open, make it 4-0, and they're just continuing to get work done across the map.
Ice died on bottom too, and this is where not having 1 point in Crippling Fear really hurts you, because he could have killed them and he wouldn't have to worry about the stun, he wouldn't have to worry about the Spike Carapace had he gotten a Crippling Fear up, but unable to do so because he doesn't have any points in it.
And Super?
Lich already level 6.
Yep, same as Super is actually going to point that out too. Mushi, not quite level 6 yet, has rotated around to no real effect. Crystal Maiden's actually just about the same experience level as Mushi is at this point. Fenrir's suffering a little bit. He's trying to get to level 4, but Timbersaw not doing so well either. He's between 4 and 5 at the moment. And currently taking a look at the gold graph, we can see 1,500 gold without a tower down. Nice little lead Vici has managed to amass. The experience, a bit of a closer affair, but still in their favor as well.
Yeah, but Burning does have the Midas Gaming. Will it pull through? I'm surprised he's not using it. Oh, there it goes. And yeah, the goal difference could be a lot worse with 4 kills. Like even First Blood alone is like what, 500 goldish, and then a couple other kills too. So they're not doing too bad in terms of CS and map control, I guess. Even though the score looks really bad, 4-0, the game is much closer than it seems.
Very much agreed. And the question's going to be, what item are they waiting on for Super? He's gone Treads, he's got his wand up, so on and so forth. Is this going to be a Shadow Blade kind of a Dragon Knight or a straight BKB kind of a Dragon Knight? What's going to be the goal? Is it to try to take mid-game team fights, or is it going to be to try to hook up and push sometime in the near future? We'll find out.
I think they can just do the same thing. They don't really need a Shadow Blade on him because they have the Nyx Assassin to initiate. So I think they can just go with a BKB or drums on him, and just rely on ROTK to constantly find Burning. He's already level 6 too. So ROTK doing very well as this offlane Nyx Assassin. They don't have any sentry wards up there either. Actually, Lanham has one in his inventory, but none in place. There is a smoke from MOY and Lanham.
And Vendetta with smoke from FY and Fenrir. And ROTK.
Burning's going to get caught.
Oh, they might be able to get the courier. Oh, he wound up for it. Is he going to chase it? Nope. Going to go right for Burning. And Burning. There's the reaction. They're going to back up.
That was such a fast TP. Oh my god. That was like one of the fastest TPs I've seen.
And here comes Super. They're going to try. Yep, Impale catches Burning. So TP was actually canceled there. And that's going to end up being a death because of it. Fenrir is going to be a return kill. Mushi pops the ulti, wants to pursue this out. ROTK has Carapace. And now we're going to have the counter initiation on MMY. Ate the Dragon Tail. There's a telekinesis. Impale thrown out from one to the other. Chain Frost will only get one bounce. Now the spam coming out. Oh, very nice Dragon Tail to lock Mushi down. ROTK able to retreat to safety. But the spell spam coming out of Vici showing just how powerful it is. They won't be able to find Lanham in time, so he will be able to make it away. Mushi's limping home with less than 100 HP, but that's a very nice win for Vici and probably a tower.
Lich could have ran up a little bit closer. The distance that the Chain Frost had to travel was just too far, even though the heroes were pretty close. If he stands like right next to them, the melee heroes are forced to split up, and that's a really good win for you. Even if you don't have to cast the Chain Frost, make it the melee heroes split up and not do that much damage and have to think about their positioning rather than killing people will will probably win them the team fight, but they were just able to burst down Rubik without too much thought.
And down at bottom, Ice continues to finally play a little bit of catch-up. Take a look at the early net worth. We can see quite a lead has been opened up by Vici. Bristleback and the DK both sitting in very pretty positions so far. Daytime still with a couple of minutes left in it, and the ultimate on cooldown currently for Mushi for at least another minute and 40 seconds. And DD will be spotted out, though, so we'll be able to take a fight if needs be. It looks like DK looking to maybe bait something out here in bottom, as Burning and MMY have looked to hook up with Ice.
Yeah, they have very devastating teamfight ultimates with Eclipse and Chain Frost, but just not really able to make anything happen yet. Mushi has tried to create opportunities for them, but Lich being a very passive hero, Ice is not really rotating from bottom, just makes the early game very difficult for them. But still, not doing terribly in terms of farm. 3,000 gold lead for Vici after taking out that T1 tower. Burning TP top, farming away. I expect DK to try and play passively, defend towers if possible.
Sylar has added a mechanism to his inventory, so he's sitting in very good shape in terms of being able to put together that push we were talking about. And they're just going to continue to pressure this tower. The damage output is not inconsiderable. Ice. Trying to whirling death, but really just not scary at all. Sylar simply does not care, tanking that tower right in the mouth. And even Chakram, not that big of a deterrent. Super, along with them. Just way too much push power, and they may just keep going here. They're going to try to force a big reaction. They know Burning does not want to come to fights right now, would not be comfortable doing so. Midas going to be the pickup on the Crystal Maiden, so she's getting herself set up for a peek in the mid-game. ROTK looking for an impel. We'll go ahead and spin it. Caught Ice. There's Mushi, though, coming out of the woodwork. And ROTK will be engaged upon. Carapace is there, but the rest of the team able to mech and retreat. But at the very least, Burning is still continuing to find his farm. Still sitting on just tier 1 boots and Midas and a ring of protection.
Yeah, their early mech pickup on Bristleback makes them want to fight really, really early, especially without any items up on DK right now. Like Luna, what she has, treads right now. Mushi just treads too. Lich nowhere close to mech. Timbersaw just arcane boots, and Rubik just brown boots too. So they have a really big item advantage, just mech, and they have like decent items out too. Dragon Knight fairly close to his BKB, and Midas already out on CM, so they can wait a little bit, or they can just pressure with the mech. Not too much pressure on Vici right now. Night Stalker again, not that passive sort of farm, wait for 40 minutes sort of hero that Luna is.
Looks like another quick pause, so we'll be back underway momentarily. The lead already looking pretty damn favorable for Vici. And this is their bread and butter. This is their wheelhouse. It's what they do. Early game, mid-game transitions, they do the best, and so much of their success relies upon them shutting down a team like DK's late-game potential. But so far, just really an unimpressive performance out of the two mid-game heroes they really need to be getting work done, namely Mushi, who only has his treads, a bracer, and a bottle up to speak of, and Ice, who, yes, he has his arc boots, but not a whole hell of a lot more. They just need more out of those heroes, or Burning's going to be finding himself under a lot more pressure much sooner than he would prefer. Again, just a reminder that, yep, there's the, oh, never mind, that wasn't player. That was our good friend Molly, who want to thank him as well as all of the other background staff involved in the D2L for helping to make this season possible. But don't forget, again, a best of 5 tomorrow and a best of 5 coming up on Thursday. And really looking forward to Thursday. It should be a fun day. It's my birthday coming up, and I get to start it out with DotA, and I get to bail out of here and do fun things in San Francisco. That'll be a real pleasure. So hope to see each and every one of you back then. And in the meantime, I mean, early on here, Merlini, I mean, it's obvious when you look at the goal graph, the experience graph's a little bit closer. But, I mean, DK, do you think they're going to be able to get the mileage they need out of Mushi and out of Ice to get this mid-game under control? Or is it very much going to just be a weather the storm kind of a situation?
I think weather the storm situation. There's too many risks in taking bad fights with the Nyx Assassin initiate, with DK getting a stun off an important hero. They don't have good counter initiates. Their team fight is not that good unless they just like walk into them, tank Chain Frost, tank Timber Burst, as well as Luna Eclipse. So if they're like well fortified with sentries or fighting close to the tower, and they take like some spam damage from Chakram and whatnot, then yeah, they can take a fight. But for the most part, they just have to get a very clean kill on ROTK. ROTK is probably the hero to kill first. Fenrir, next, or just kind of leave them alone.
ROTK going to spawn him out. Smokes pop. Down goes sentries. And they're going to try to blow him up. He's silenced out after taking a lot of bursts. There's the Chain Frost. ROTK meching through it along with his team. So a very unsuccessful attempt so far. Siler, not the one they want to be engaging on here, doing a lot of damage. And the Eclipse is there. Burning, though. Bursted down. Mushi's going to be next on the list. It's a 1-for-1 exchange. Siler for Burning. Mushi will not be able to outrun the last shot. Lanham joins him as well. VG, beautiful shot from ROTK. That's a 4-for-1 exchange as ROTK sniped him with the Impale through the tree line. And yeah, I think it's safe to say that didn't quite work out as they had hoped.
Yeah, that was not a clean initiate. They just needed to lift. I don't know why Mushi was leading. They need to lift with telekinesis first. Lift with telekinesis back into them. Just drop a void, silence, Frost Nova as well as Lucent Beam, maybe Timbersaw Burst if they have to, and that's an easy kill. But he was able to mech up, and then he just caused a lot of trouble with his Impale, with his Spike Carapace during Burning's Eclipse, and yeah, it was. They even had good vision there too. They had a Sentry Ward as well as the Obs Ward. So nice movement by ROTK, popping the smoke and kind of baiting DK into the tower.
Only 900 gold until the BKB is going to be done on Super. And at that point, it's really going to get chancy for them, because what real damage do they have outside of the little bit of magic burst that we've seen on display a couple of times? Super pops a Hastener, going to pursue out Lanham, and look at him melt. Siler right there with him. That's a free kill, and Super's not done. Super's going to go ahead hunting. He's still got halftime on the haste. He just is playing fearless, just doesn't care because he has Siler beside him with the mechanism. Siler with the passive damage he's doing with Quill Spray, and looks like he may have overextended a bit, but now FY's there to help out. Visage Familiar's even making their way over, and now another Dragon Tail on the Mushi. And Super just continuing to peg away. Another Impale, down he goes. That's 13-3, and Vici is making it look easy here in the first 15 minutes against DK in Game 3. Literally diving Tier 2s this early on.
Yeah, that's really the strength of those two tanky heroes, and I mean DK, they just don't have the lineup to cope with it, especially a hasted Super too. It's just too much, and he doesn't even have BKB yet. Burning, about to fall yet again.
Yep, cleaned up with a Breathe Fire, and MMY trying to retreat. One last Soul Assumption. They are just, they're basically feeding as quick as they respawn at this point, and they're gonna get Ice as well. 16-3, can you say? 17-3, a triple kill for Fenrir. And, like, what do you even say? This game was already heavily in Vici's favor. They just murdered DK so quick, they finally caught up with the short respawn timers, and finally there's a bunch down. Just like that, a 10,000 gold lead by the time this updates after the fall of that tower, and I don't know what in the hell DK can do.
DK, they needed to not get Midas on Luna, or draft a different hero for Night Stalker mid, because Mushi wants to fight, but he can't win. Burning doesn't have any items. He just died like a fly down on bottom because all he has is Strange Shreds, and he got hit by his own Eclipse. And like right now, it's just really, really brutal for them. They're not on the same page. Their draft, I wouldn't say is that bad, but for their play style, it's not good, because they, like Mushi, always looking for action, been involved in a lot of kills and a lot of deaths. He's been involved in all 4 kills, but Burning wants to play passively, wants to farm it up, and that just does not work out really well. And yeah, Ice about to die too. Yep. And like Lanham too, it's like a passive support in Lich, and then they want to make things happen really, really early, and DK calls it a GG.
Yep, there it is. And yeah, didn't even interrupt you to call the last few engagements there. What was the point? Vici Gaming, not only do they down Team DK, they do it in style. A game that only took 17 minutes, and they're heading to the finals of the Eastern Division. Well, they will meet Invictus Gaming in a best-of-5 tomorrow. The winner of that match on their way to Las Vegas along with LGD China to represent the East. And, of course, on Thursday, again, Fnatic matching up with Team Liquid to find out who will be joining Alliance to represent the West. Been a lot of fun so far, my friend. I mean, recap it as best you can. You touched on pretty much most of the high points, but I mean, final thoughts.
It's pretty
on the
much just
series.
all one-sided games, though. Like, even though most of these extend to 3, it's pretty much just one team dominating most of the games. I think we had like 1 or 2 close games out of the 9 in the best of 3s, but yeah, for the most part, it was just one team getting off to an early lead and then holding on to the end. I think the one game that was really close when DK just farmed it up with Lushi, but aside from that, I don't know. I think a lot of it does have to do with the draft and being way too predictable for the playstyle. Like Burning, I think he got minus in all 3 games and just passively farmed for 30 minutes in all 3 games. Well, 15 minutes in this game because it only lasted 17. But DK needs to vary their playstyle. And Vici, they play the same way in games 1 and 2, but their draft was a lot different. So they accommodated for DK doing that, and DK didn't react to what Vici did. They just did the same thing, hoping it would work out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. DK, honestly, falling back to some of the old patterns that even going back to last year, going back to 2012, when it was certainly a different look, DK. But very often they get into this 4 protect 1 mindset. Burning, of course, a master of that in his own right. But can put you in some pretty difficult situations against teams like Vici. And pretty sure we were just validated in everything we talked about in terms of just how good Vici's early and mid-game could be. We didn't even get to really see the mid-game here in Game 3 of this series. So DK bows out. They finish in 4th place overall. Vici once again advances to meet Invictus Gaming in a best-of-5 final for our Bubble Race Eastern Division playoff. And that'll kick off at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Hope you guys will join us for that. 17 minutes, 3 seconds, the official game time. 22-4, an utter rout applied by Vici. It's been a fun day, guys. I'm your host, Aaron E.C. Chambers, the voice you've been hearing all day long, dropping the knowledge and kind of being really awesome. His name's Ben Merlini. Make sure you check his profile on Twitter. I'm at AC, and he's at Merlini DotA. Before we close up shop for the night, Ben, why don't you go ahead and once again inform the fine folks as to where they can keep up more with you and certainly tap into all that wealth of knowledge you put on display every time I have the pleasure of sharing the microphone.
You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, all the relevant social media at /Merlini DotA. Thank you, AAC, for another fine cast. We'll be back on Thursday, you said?
No, we're back tomorrow, actually. I was not going to lie, I was actually mistaken as well. I thought that we had 2 best of 5s loaded up on Thursday. There has been a lot of schedule shifting. We've been working in part with EMS and so on and so forth to make sure we didn't overlap as much as we could. But tomorrow at 5 p.m. we'll be back with our Eastern Division Grand Final for our Bubble Race playoffs. It'll be at 5 p.m. And then Thursday, we're kicking off at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for our Western Division race. And Ben, it's been a pleasure as always, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. And can't wait to get back with you tomorrow and on Thursday. Going to be a lot of fun. Once again, that was Ben Merlini Wu, and he'll be back again as always over coming days. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty now. Not a whole lot of Dota left to be played, at least online. Only 2 best of 5s left. Again, Fnatic taking on Team Liquid on Thursday. Vici matching wits with Invictus coming up tomorrow. Winners of those matches will be joining Alliance and LGD China at our grand finals at Caesars Palace and Las Vegas. And just want to remind everyone, by the way, if you happen to be in Vegas or maybe you're thinking of traveling, maybe it's something you've never done, come to a live event, something like that, we would love to have you. It's free admittance. All you got to do is show up at Caesars and find the ballroom and be one of the first in line, because it is first come, first serve in terms of seating and all of that fun stuff. But you don't even have to have access to CES, nothing like that. Just come on in and say hello. I'll be there. So will Merlini, and of course, 4 of the best teams in the world, 2 of which have already been determined, 2 of which will be determined 48 hours from now. This has been a HyperX production in conjunction with Razer, Monster Energy, and Astro, and I'm looking forward to this. That's been a long day, and a really nice way to get back on the horse there after a couple of weeks of downtime. Hope you guys had happy holidays. If you happen to be the sort of folk who celebrate Thanksgiving and all that, and hope you guys are gearing up for Christmas, because Christmas is an awesome time of year, and really can't wait to get closer to January 7th through 10th. Again, our grand finals coming up very, very soon. All right, guys, again, back tomorrow, 5 p.m. right here on twitch.tv/D2L. You can find me on Twitter for updates about that and everything else at AC. And find me everywhere else, Facebook, YouTube, what have you. My Twitch channel as well as ACT. Till then, enjoy your evening, morning, or afternoon, and enjoy some Dota.